let me take out this line so we don't look at it and laugh.
You don't have to look at this anymore.
There, one good thought, all on its own.
Yay!
Nothing weird.
This is what happens when people with ADHD try to work on a podcast.
I'm sorry. Welcome to Recapping Romantasy, hot takes on hot literature. Who are we?
We are me, Emma.
I am Maura.
And I am Tabitha. Recapping Romantasy contains mature content from fairy smut to dragon rider torture to monster genitalia. Be sure to check the episode notes for content warnings and the link to the transcript. So today, we are covering A Court of Mist and Fury, the second book in the Court of Thorns and Roses series by Sarah J. Maas. This is the book that fans will tell you is the best in the series. Just power through the first and it gets better, is the claim. Do we have any hot gossip on this book? The only thing I have is that it has spawned a community of cringy men on TikTok growling and saying, "Hello, Feyre, darling."
Yeah, that the Craven guy on TikTok is definitely with his what is it, Mario stuff in the background, which is just hilarious.
Yeah.
I was like, I can't take you seriously anymore.
No.
If I ever did.
He has a very Henry Cavill type voice, which I think is why people are slobbering over him. But I think I sent you that TikTok of this one guy talking about how the map of Prithian is basically the UK.
Mm-hmm.
So if we're following that logic, Rhysand is Scottish, and he does a couple lines with a Scottish accent, and it's not as gravelly. And I don't know if it's just because I'm going to Scotland soon, but I'm into it.
No, I like it. I like
it's
the
not
Scotland
into
thing.
it the way that girls are online, oh my god. But I'm this makes more sense.
It does.
It's at least interesting.
I love a Scottish accent. What I can understand. That's all the gossip I have.
Yeah, I haven't really no gossip other than that.
I also think it's way better than the first one.
It is way better than the first one. I do think it kind of makes sense that people say that just ride through the first one. The second one's going to be better.
Yeah.
I think it objectively is better than the first one, but this first one is also not good.
Not to shit on our Lord and Savior, S.J. Maas. And what does it say about her that 2 of her 3 series are like that? I don't know anything about Crescent City, so I can't say anything, but
I think it has a lot to say that fan bases will stick with you no matter what. Mm-hmm. And that you can get away with things if you're big enough.
True.
And I think lots of people will say, well, her first book was she was 16 when she wrote it. I'm like, yeah, but she was 16 when she wrote it when it was on, fiction press, right? And she had a following then. Mm-hmm. And I think they were willing to stick with her and see where it went. Mm-hmm. And I think smaller authors without that following, they have no shot. They can't do that. No.
So as you can probably tell by the title, this is just going to be part 1 of A Court of Mist and Fury. Partially because this book is massive. I don't have the page count on me, but it is a very, very large book. And kind of because in the middle of doing my show notes for this, I kind of had a breakdown. And where I was just I can't do it. I can't believe I'm only halfway through this book. I'm going to lose my mind. So we're how about we get halfway through and take a break and then come back to it?
Yeah, we did have to take a break just generally. We're okay, Tabitha, stop it. Go sit down for a while.
There's just so much that happens.
Yeah, I will say these books are so long. Same thing. Anytime you have to put a part in a book, just make it a separate book. I feel like it'd be easier on you. It'd be easier on me. We can maybe get better quality books.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It is so long, but then I think it's so long because she jams so much in there that's not necessarily supposed to be there.
I mean, we're not talking about it today, but the last, 3 chapters when they do that heist, I'm this should be a 7-chapter event.
Yeah, if she would have split it into 2 books, she'd be able to address the things she added more.
Yeah.
Make it more interesting.
Yeah.
Better action
Again,
beats.
if you're going to add a part, in my opinion, as someone who's never been an author before, you should just separate it into different books.
And that's fine. Yeah. I think that's a fair opinion to have, but also she's constrained by publishing. So,
I know.
Yeah.
I know. Again, I'm just a normal.
So a quick recap of the first book in this series. Our main character is named Feyre. She is a human that gets taken to fairyland in a very Beauty and the Beast way, has to do these trials, gets through them, and is going to marry the fairy lord of her dreams, Tamlin. Oh, also she is turned into a fairy. So that's where we are. So they're back in their kingdom. She's got to marry Tamlin. Got it? Good.
Yeah.
Okay. Starting with the prologue. Feyre is having a nightmare remembering what happened during Amarantha's third trial, but this time she stabs herself.
Yeah, so this is the PTSD has entered the chat in a big way. She's also got this self-hatred, right, that she's killed these fairies during her trials and she can't get over it. And it's not she has to get over it or anything, but she hates herself. I mean, she actually says her hated face. Like, she hates herself. She hates her face. I'm like, okay. So it's kind of sad. She's just really in a bad way.
We see Feyre back in the Spring Court Palace, violently barfing after this nightmare. This has been common since the events under the mountain, but to our knowledge, Tamlin does not know it's happening or either, doesn't care, because he kind of does know what's happening.
Yeah, she has this quote where she says, "He never woke when the nightmares dragged me from sleep. Never awoke when I vomited my guts up night after night." Yeah, because he's a selfish prick.
Yeah, he can definitely hear that with his fairy hair.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think he can totally hear it, sure.
Also, this girl needs Pepto-Bismol or
yeah,
something.
she barfs a lot.
She must. I mean, at this point, her teeth are probably rotting.
Ew, that's such a
Wouldn't
good point.
you think? Yeah.
Do you think fairy have stronger enamel?
I wonder if fluoride is naturally present in this world.
Yeah, probably not. I bet their breath smells.
So as I said, we remember from the end of the last book, she is Fae now. She still has Rhysand's tattoo, but hasn't seen or heard from him in months.
Yeah, so I think with Feyre and Tamlin, it's kind of become an unspoken agreement with them. In fact, she says, quote, "It has become our unspoken agreement not to let Amarantha win by acknowledging that she still tormented us in our dreams and waking hours. It was easier," unquote. And I don't know. I think she probably is a little bit imagining that this is something that they've unspokenly agreed to.
Right.
It's kind of like giving Tamlin an out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's absolutely that.
Tamlin and Lucien are hunting and visiting villages in the kingdom to help rebuild after the end of Amarantha's reign. Feyre wants to help too, but Tamlin will not let her leave the palace. We know that they're in a bad place as a couple right now because she describes his eyes as chips of ice. There's no more flex.
Yeah, no more flex. I mean, we know for sure that there's no sex going to be happening here. There's some allusion to it that happens, but not in a sexy romantic way. Also, I have to note here, and I just noticed this because I like to see when certain male characters are emasculated via the horses that they ride. And I want to notice that Tamlin is on a black stallion and Lucien is on a mare. Mare is a female horse. A stallion is, an intact male horse. That's what they call that. And
it's very alpha and beta.
It's very alpha and beta.
I would have never known. Thank you, resident horse girl.
Yeah, so I like to just notice these things. Sorry.
No, I appreciate it.
I'm like, when are they going to put Lucien on a stallion? Will that ever happen? Will he ever get the chance?
Never.
At most, he gets a gelding.
Yeah. Oh, I think he was on a gelding in the first one.
Oh, yeah. What kind of horse is that?
It's a castrated male.
Oh, got it. Wow. Poor Lucien.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he kind of deserves it. But anyway, my hatred for Lucien is long-standing.
I know.
So yeah, and then I want to point out the her dresses. So Feyre, quote, "I hated the bright dresses that had become my daily uniform, but didn't have to heart to tell Tamlin. Not when he'd bought so many. Not when he looked so happy to see me wear them." I'm just like, oh man,
gross.
Dresses are such a hardship.
I hate dresses. I never wear them. I just want to also point out that she basically has her own room or something. It says he kept his own quarters, deeming it vital for me to have my own space because he's just a typical man who can't deal with too many emotions.
Yeah, I think that's a big deal because as the book goes on, it becomes a comparison to Rhysand and what he expects out of an arrangement with her.
But they still sleep in the same room.
Because
I was reading this at first as...
But I think only when they have sex.
Yeah, it's not always.
To be honest, I didn't reread the book before we are recording this, and I read it over Christmas break, so...
Personally, if I was sharing a bedroom with someone who may or may not throw up on me, I'd switch rooms.
Listen, I was just going to say, if you're about to throw up, I want to be as far away from you as
not to
possible.
be unsympathetic. I will give you comfort through the door.
I'll be unsympathetic.
I can't see or hear that.
Because if there's a possibility, I've never been, but if there's a possibility that I'm a sympathetic vommer, No, I'm removing myself from that situation. I don't even like it when people throw up in movies.
Oh,
I pointed
yeah.
this out to
I
my
think it
mom.
should be blurred when
I
it's
think
on
it's
TV.
disgusting. They used to cut it. You know, like when you shoot someone, they don't actually show like the impact or anything. They like cut it so it happens. They used to do that with throwing up in movies. Okay, and then somewhere along the line, everyone's like, "Look at how easy it is for me to make myself throw up." I'm like, "This is very anorexic coded, bulimia coded. What are we doing, people?" And now. Every movie, they're just throwing up everywhere.
Yeah. I genuinely believe that if we are going to blur poop coming out of a butt,
We do?
Yeah.
Where? When?
When have you seen poop coming out of a butt in a movie?
Oh my God.
I mean, to be honest, I don't feel like it happens as often. Like, I feel like there's, I mean,
Okay, look at
Feyre is a perfect example. We
look
have
at
more,
the scene
we have more reasons for people to throw up than pooping.
I'm sorry, wasn't she pooping herself nonstop last book?
No, she just had like twice that she had watery bowels. We went through this.
I would say that scene in Bridesmaids where they all have diarrhea.
They don't
you don't
blur
actually see
it.
You don't see it though.
Yeah.
You see vomit coming out of a mouth in
Yes,
movies.
you
That's
do.
the point I'm making.
Yes.
They would never show poop coming out of a butt.
I don't know why we're fighting. I'm agreeing with you. I'm just saying they've never blurred poop. They just cut it, which is what I was saying before. Like Melissa McCarthy sits on the sink.
Yeah,
Perfectly.
I think we're agreeing.
Yeah,
that,
we
like... All right, then.
I've just been sitting here watching this, doing no effort at all to break it up because I just can't stop.
Her head is just like swiveling back and forth like it's a tennis match.
All right.
We're both right.
Anyway.
Shake
Yeah, we're
on
both
it.
right. Okay. All right. So Feyre has been planning their wedding these past months and is horribly bored, but Tamlin won't let her do anything else or just has her do ceremonial shit for festivals and whatnot. He keeps saying that it isn't safe, despite the fact that she is extremely powerful now because she has power from all the High Lords per the last book.
Yeah.
She's lost all interest in painting and he doesn't seem to have noticed. Also, he forgot her birthday.
Okay, but like, not to, be shitting on like the victim, blurred or not blurred. Did she even tell anyone that it's her birthday?
I don't think she did.
Probably
Okay,
not.
yeah. So woe is you, Feyre.
Yeah, that does seem a little martyry of her.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so we are introduced to Ianthe, high
Is
priest.
that how you say her name?
It's Ianthe.
Isn't that what I said?
Yes.
Okay.
Again,
Good
I
enough.
don't do audio, and we all know I can't read, so cool. I'm glad I got that. Wait, say that again, please.
Ianthe.
Okay, got it.
Okay, so we are introduced to Ianthe, the high priestess of whatever the hell their religion is, and she's a bitch.
Absolutely.
She is for sure.
Even when Feyre is unaware, the reader can tell that she is very manipulative and is pretty much the one planning the wedding. She tells us how hot Ianthe is, which I think is why we know we aren't supposed to like her. She uses words like supple body, sensuous mouth, and manicured fingers.
Plus, there's like some part of Ianthe that she comes across as one of those simpering mean girls who like is trying to be nice to you to your face, but in reality is absolutely talking bad about you.
And
behind
like
your
I
back.
said, it's very obvious to the reader.
Yeah.
Yes. Like from the beginning when she was introduced, I knew the vibes were off. Like,
Yeah.
Like she's one of those girls, as you said, simpering mean girls. She's like, the childhood friend of your boyfriend who's like, oh my God, I'm so glad I have another girl around. Like, it's so weird with me and all the guys, but me and your boyfriend, we've been like so close. We used to like take baths together when we were little. And like, oh my God, I'm so glad you're here. And you have nothing to worry about, girl. We're going to be best friends. And then like later you walk in on her like massaging his shoulders for like some weird reason. You're like, back off. And she's like, oh my God, it's so fine. That's like, I think Ianthe, whatever the fuck her name is, talks like that every time.
Because there's also one point where Feyre does say that like to be with a high priestess is a big deal. Like they're supposed to have like, I don't know, couples or courtship with like high lords or whatever. This is like a big thing. So she's like, in reality, he should be like Tamlin should be with Ianthe.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ianthe is very clearly into Lucian, and he clearly does not like her.
Yeah.
Very much so. But Ianthe, she's so weird the way that she's kind of coded as an antagonist because of her refugee status. Have you noticed that? So it's very weird about her refugee status. Like she doesn't share the same PTSD as they do because her family left Prithian during the occupation, I guess you could say, of Hybern occupying the land through Amarantha. So she doesn't have the same PTSD. She wasn't under the mountain with everybody else. She wasn't even in the country. Yeah. So they're like, oh, do we trust her? Do we trust her because she's a refugee?
I didn't even think of it like refugee, but more like she's supposed to be like selfish, you know, to leave and not be like tortured with the rest of them.
Yeah, she left everybody behind. So I kind of feel like there's like this, you left us to die. I hate you for this. Yeah.
There is a lot of that. Good point.
Later, Tamlin returns from being allowed to leave the palace, and they have sex.
I'm sure it's like missionary only.
It's fine. She asks a few questions about her role and her title, and Tamlin reveals that immortal fairies also live in a patriarchy and that there's no such thing as a high lady, only male high lords, and I guess like their consorts.
Burn it all down.
But then he goes down on her to distract her, which is literally the least he can do.
I know. My God.
I didn't even know he ever did that to her.
Same. I can't really remember this happening because I don't remember much about Tamlin, but you know, that is like my standard. This is what you have to do.
Yeah.
To get my favor.
The next day, Lucian takes her on a guided tour of some local villages, and everyone seems to be scared of her. He tries to get Feyre to understand Tamlin's point of view, that he's under pressure and just wants to protect her. Bros before hoes, am I right?
Always.
So Feyre is forced to attend more parties and is just clearly riddled with untreated PTSD. Like, she has no focus, she's depressed, she has nightmares.
And she has this random insistence that she is so bland next to Anthe.
Yeah, horrible self-esteem.
This is like her self-esteem is just like so low that I think she kind of just strikes me as someone who wants to stop. Just like, I can't, I just don't want to be looked at. I don't want to be a part of anything. I would rather, don't perceive me
like passively
ever.
Suicidal.
Yeah, passively suicidal, I would say.
So we come to the day of their wedding. She hates her dress. I hate the fact that apparently the colors of the landscape are cream, blush, and sky blue, and her bouquet is pale, but the rose petals on the ground are red and white. Like, that is a hideous color scheme. If you're going to have blush colors and then like a stark white or a stark red, that's weird. In my opinion, that's weird.
It is. She could have gone with pink petals and it would have been so much better as a color palette.
But red is a triggering color to Feyre at this point, and it shows that Ianthe didn't listen to her when she said no red.
Yeah, and also notice here that she wanted to vomit when she saw it, but she somehow stops herself from doing it.
Also, I just want to pause because there's this really beautiful art that I'm going to bring up and link in our show notes. It's of the Reluctant Bride painting.
Oh yeah. Nice. I do like it.
Yeah. So it was like very popular on TikTok, like it's this young bride who's getting ready for her wedding, and she has her two friends kind of or maidens maybe, or I don't know, helping her get ready, and she's just like sitting in her chair looking pissed. And so we have Feyre sitting here looking pissed as fuck, and then Ianthe giving her like a little kiss on her forehead, and then who I think is Alice. Yeah, she's like sitting there holding her hand.
I love it.
It's just very well done. Yeah. So I do love a good fan art. So
Feyre starts down the aisle, hesitates, panics, and mentally begs someone to save her. There's a crack, and suddenly Rhysand is there.
And then he says, "Hello, Feyre, darling."
The infamous.
Yes, but more purry and definitely more sexy
gravelly,
than how I said it.
We taled about that TikTok.
Yeah, repeated by a million greasy boys on TikTok.
Yes, with questionable art as a background.
Rhysand is there to take her back to the underworld, by which I mean the Night Court. As per their agreement. Tamlin is mad, of course, but lets it happen. Feyre immediately notices that the Night Court is beautiful and starts talking shit to Rhys. Like, he doesn't know that she just begged to get out of her own wedding. She throws a shoe at him, a la the 2008 George Bush shoeing incident.
Which I love. That's such a good reference.
We find out the dreaded part of the Night Court with the torture and the cruelty and whatnot is underground, like, in the mountain, basically, and not where Rhys actually lives. She goes upstairs and talks about how great her room is. It's a lot of descriptions of, like, room and clothing in this book. She takes off her wedding dress, puts on some night court garb, which seems to be harem pants and a crop top.
Yeah, that tracks.
The next morning, she joins him for breakfast. He talks about mental shields and how she sucks at them. But for that week, he wants her to learn how to read.
Yeah, he bought her hooked on phonics.
It's so sweet.
Yeah, what a
I
cute
thought you were
gift.
going to say booked on Honix.
I almost for a second.
She's mad, of course, because that is her default state with him. She asks him why he cares, and he literally says reasons. Like, the quote is,
So subtle.
She says, "What the hell does it even matter to you?" He says, "It serves various purposes of mine, of course." She says, "What purposes?" He says, "You'll have to agree to work with me to find out, I'm afraid."
That's for me to know and for you to find out.
Yeah.
So petty playground behavior.
So Feyre meets Rhys's cousin, quote unquote cousin, because it's not a real cousin, Morrigan, who is beautiful and nice coded.
Yes. Don't worry, everyone.
She reminds me of Alice from Twilight.
Oh, yeah. I can see
I only
that.
read the first book. I remember very little of Alice.
The amount of onlineness that you are, and the amount of
I know, right?
pop culture, just
I know I've
moments
said this.
that you don't know, boggles me.
I know I've said this before, but I've actually never seen an entire episode of The Vampire Diaries, but I have watched a YouTube analysis that is 2.5 hours long of The Vampire Diaries multiple times.
Of the whole thing, or just a
Yeah.
certain...
Yeah. So I know everything about the TV show, despite the fact I've never watched it. He makes her struggle to read something suggestive, then uses it as an opening to force himself into her mind, but only to show her why she needs to learn shielding. After she practices, he takes her to a room with a huge map of the world and tells her war is coming.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, she gets really good at shielding really fast.
She also gets really good at reading really fast.
She does, especially since it turns out that she's not that bad at reading.
Yeah.
Yeah, they made it sound like she was completely illiterate last book, and
Yeah.
then she basically knows the most famous, most used 1,000 words in English.
Yeah, it seems that she actually knows quite a lot. And he at one point says, actually, this isn't that bad. We can work with this.
Yeah, I think she just had a small vocabulary.
She was just dumb.
So yes, she's dumb. So she thinks that means he's invading the mortal lands. Rhysand explains that the King of Highburn, which if we remember is Ireland on this map, is planning to invade Prithian, which is the UK.
Yeah.
On his way to invade the mortal lands.
You know what? It's a good thing S.J. Maas is not English. I feel like this would be just really bad. Because, England and Ireland have really bad history.
Yeah. Oh.
Just a thought I had.
Yeah, I saw recently a TikTok of someone explaining the Crescent City series in terms of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, and I was like, whoa. And so I feel like she's known for this weird taking.
Maybe it's accidental.
I think it might be. I think it might be accidental, but I don't.
Subconsciously, she
All right,
loves
so-
talking about conflict.
In a moment of foreshadowing, Feyre asks he'd have allies here, referring to the King of Highburn. And Rhysand responds, cowards who would bow and join him rather than fight his armies again. See what that means?
Mm-hmm.
So he tells her again how powerful she is, and she balks, saying that there are no high ladies. And Rhys says, and she better learn to use her powers. At the end of the week, she runs into Rhys and Morrigan, who tell her a temple was attacked and every priest is killed. This is the first time we see Rhysand's full fleshy wings come out, right?
I hate that you said fleshy.
Oh no, he flies.
I mean,
away.
as opposed to shadowy.
Yeah.
No, maybe actually.
No, he does show them in some sense in ACOTAR. You're right.
I
yeah.
think he does show them in ACOTAR. I want to say he shows them. Oh, he does. He shows them at the very end of ACOTAR, and she's just like, "Wow, that's is that your other form?" He's like, "No, it isn't. I just don't like going that far."
Is it in ACOTAR or is it in ACOMAF when he says I only show my wings to people I love?
Yeah, he does say that in ACOMAF.
Oh,
It's just in ACOTAR, he's like, this isn't my full transformed form, because you know how Tamlin goes full beast mode.
Yeah.
And as far as I understand, Rhysand can do the same thing. He just chooses not to.
Yes, I have seen some fan art that I think is of
I
that.
think we all
You
have.
couldn't handle my final form.
I think it kind of is like that. Yeah. He's like, my final form is too beastie for you.
So the concept of winnowing is introduced, which is basically the same thing as apparition
Apparition.
in Harry Potter.
Yeah.
Which is to say the ability to disappear in one spot and appear in another spot.
Yeah, but I pictured it using a portal, kind of, because they say that you start with, later when she's learning, you start with a step and then you finish it somewhere else. Like when you apparate I mean, at least in the movies, you get like sucked into this like little dot, like your body like.
Yeah, I think in ACOTAR, ACOMAF, it's more like you just bloop out of existence and like bloop somewhere else.
I'm dying with all of our sound effects. Quick, what do you think? What do you think winnowing sounds like? You have to add a sound effect now.
Oh, I imagined it like bamfing, like Nightcrawler.
Oh yeah,
It creates a vacuum in space, so it goes
yeah,
like
like-
crack and then crack when you reappear.
yeah, I like that. That's good.
That actually is how apparating is explained.
So then Illyrians are introduced. We're just being introduced to a whole bunch of new words here.
There are so
Yeah.
many things we had to introduce you to. So much.
So Illyrians are like an ethnic group in this kingdom.
Kind of.
They have rounded ears and bat-like wings. Reese's mom was an Illyrian, and also Azriel and Cassian, who we will meet eventually. So, bat wings, round ears. And the Illyrian things is what's throwing me off here, because there is a race of Star Trek aliens that are also called Illyrians.
Yeah, and also see the character Illyria from Angel, the TV series, and also the actual ancient Illyrians from the actual ancient Illyria, who was kind of near Greece. They were the mortal enemies of the Macedonians of Alexander the Greek fame.
I had just watched She's the Man when I was reading this. So all I could think about is the like principal, dean of students or whatever, who's the school that they go to is Illyria.
Yeah.
And he
why it's
sings
the
a
name we
song
keep
about
using.
Illyria. And
It's
it's
a-
in my head every time I read the word Illyrian.
I think like Illyria is just such a fantasy-ish name.
Yeah, it does really sound
That
fantasy-ish.
is real. Like there's a
Yeah.
real Illyria, and we're like, oh wow, this sounds so made up.
It's very real.
She, per their contract, she returns to the Spring Court, where Tamlin gets a little grabby and aggro. Apparently, he destroyed half the palace in his rage. Girls love when men have anger management
Yeah, I
issues.
love it. Love coming back home to everything destroyed.
Almost immediately, Tamlin and Lucian make her give them all the intel she gained about the Night Court and about Rhysand.
Yeah, this was like, they just interrogated her.
Yeah, they basically interrogate her, but she doesn't really know anything because at
No.
that point, like,
Yeah,
She's
they
just at
haven't
his
told her.
house.
anything.
yeah,
right?
like she saw the map, but she didn't actually see anything on the map.
She stayed in his one house, his like
Oh.
more like formal house.
Yes.
Yeah.
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 So Tamlin also tells her that she doesn't need to train and that he is never going to let her near a battlefield.
Oh, don't you say let her to a girl.
Yeah.
He's protecting her.
They talk about how they have to keep her powers secret so that they aren't used against them.
Baloney.
So now it is tithe time. People of the Spring Court come to pay taxes, basically.
And it is super hardcore. Like, he will literally kill the people who don't pay.
Yeah, apparently Tamlin still believes in like debtors' prisons.
Yeah.
Feyre is very bored until a water wraith shows up, unable to fully pay. Remember, there's a whole thing where it's like high Fey and lower Fey.
Yeah.
And like the things that look less human seem to be what are considered lower Fey.
Yeah.
Which includes Illyrians, actually. They're considered lower Fae, too.
That's, yeah.
Yeah, so everyone is like, ew, gross, because she's pretty swampy. And
And also, she's like naked.
yeah.
She is. She's very naked and very
She's
swampy.
a fish. Fish don't wear clothes.
She's like,
Yeah.
she's like a fish if a fish were a human.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Tamlin's like a real dick to her, real high and mighty. And Feyre is finally like, wait, this is dumb. Why does this clearly poorer type of Fae need to give you, the king, material tribute?
And I need to just take a break here to point out that the material tribute in this instance is fish.
Yeah.
Fish.
Which, do fish spoil? Do you think they have refrigerators or freezers?
No, they don't have refrigerators.
They might
This is another
have-
thing.
So like this
They might-
one time a year, they're gonna get a boatload of fish, and then they just let it go to
and
waste.
how many fish? Are we talking about one fish per wraith? Because she said
Two
like,
fish,
like
red
she
fish,
has like
blue
2
fish.
sisters or something. So are we talking about 3 fish? I just need to know more about this thing.
I mean, I would assume in this world they could magically keep them cold. Historically, they would usually have some form of cold storage, which
Yeah,
was
like
an earth dug.
Yeah, they
Sort
probably
of
have like
low
ice or
section.
something, but like, or probably just magic. But fish.
fish?
I mean, you could dry and salt them, I guess.
Sure.
Oh, true.
You could.
Yeah, what's he gonna do with those fish?
But what is he going to do with them?
This is
So-
very Princess Diana coded of her.
Yeah, so this
The
is
fishes people.
this is the one time I was like, yes, we love to see class consciousness, girl. Tamlin is all like, but it's tradition. This is how it's always been done. And yeah, I mean, that's what the lower Fae are going to say when his back is against the wall.
I hate that line. I hate the. It's tradition. We have to do this way.
There's no other way you could possibly do it.
That shit was said a lot when I was in a sorority.
So Feyre gives the water wraith the jewelry she's wearing in order to pay the tithe. At dinner, Tamlin and Feyre argue about the fact she did this. Feyre reminds him that she knows what it is like to be poor. Well angry, she accidentally slides into Lucian's thoughts and burns the table a little with her hands. So like a couple of powers manifesting at once.
Poor Lucian. He was just like
he's just
innocent bystander here.
He is.
Poor pathetic Lucian.
Yeah, I know. Poor pathetic Lucian. Just doing poor pathetic things. At the beck and call of poor pathetic Tamlin.
So much.
I do. I hate him so much.
So Alice tells her that helping the Wraith was dangerous but brave, basically.
Whatever. I don't get why it was dangerous.
Well, I think because they're like fierce, the water wraiths.
Water wraiths, generally speaking, I think
eat people.
We're eating people, and it was one of those things where they're like, if it were reversed, they would have just eaten her. They wouldn't have like tried to be nice. That's one of the things about Prythian generally is that all the fairy are really like my way or no way, or like I got mine, too bad about you. And also they don't really think in terms of like altruism. They think in terms of like why are you giving this to me? What's in it for you? Which is kind of a crappy way to live generally.
Yeah.
But so this is where like Alice is telling her essentially that the water wraith lady's always going to remember what Feyre did for her, and therefore there's always going to be some debt that has to be paid.
Oh, yeah.
So therefore it's laying groundwork for saving her ass in an impossible situation later.
That fish from the Sound of, what is it called? That movie, that one,
The
Sound of Water. What is it called?
Oh crap! It isn't the
Are you
Sound
talking about
of
the woman who
Water.
fucks the fish guy?
Yeah, that
Yes,
one.
yes.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I guess.
That's how I picture them.
I think you're right.
Thanks.
All right.
Because he's naked too, right?
He is
Yes.
naked. Yes.
Does he eat her cat too?
Does that happen in that movie?
Yeah.
I've never seen it.
I saw that movie in the theater and people like laughed awkwardly during the sex scene, and I wanted to stand up and be like, y'all are cowards. Y'all are cowards. Just lean into it.
You know what?
Not a one of them has read a monster romance. And
Yeah,
it shows.
exactly.
I was just going to say, not everyone reads monster romance. Okay?
Well, then why the fuck are they watching the fish fucking movie?
They didn't know.
They
They,
had to
just
have
knew it was
known. Oh,
Oscar
come on.
nominated
We
for an
all
Oscar.
knew.
No, everyone knew there was fish fucking.
I don't think I knew until it won, and then people were like, "This fish fucking movie."
Okay. She finds Tamlin in the study. They both apologize, and he gives her a gift, but it is a paint kit. Oh no, red paint.
Oh
Did she throw up?
no! She probably wanted to.
She asks if she would even be allowed to wander around the grounds to paint, or if she would need an escort. And he's like, escort all the way. She tries to communicate to him that living like this is fucking her up. She says specifically, I am drowning, and the more you do this, the more guards, you might as well be shoving my head underwater. He doesn't react, and then literally explodes. Like the room explodes around him.
Yeah.
Yeah, because she has her first honest conversation with him, and he can't handle it.
No, men can't handle emotions. He's just such a nice guy, you know? Every time I think of Tamlin, I think of this one guy, my freshman year, who was like in love with my friend, and he wrote her this note, basically that was like, I've tried to confess my feelings to you like the whole year, and you just rejected me. I guess nice guys really do finish last.
Oh God. It's like, yeah, Brad, they do.
Yeah. His name was not Brad, but I think it was Dan.
Oh well, perfect, Dan.
So everything in the room is destroyed, but Feyre is in a little bubble of protection. It seems like she's the one who reflexively put up the bubble. So another, manifestation of her powers. She drops the bubble. He holds her tight and apologizes. Like, that's his only defense he has, is to be like, oops, sorry.
Yeah.
He says, please give me more time. Let me get through this, please. What do we make of that? What do we think he needs when he says he's going to get through this?
So, you know what? I think maybe this is an unpopular opinion, but I've always thought that he has just as much PTSD as she does.
Yeah.
But I also think he's not an idiot and realizes that, war is coming in some way, shape, or form. He just isn't quite sure how. It's setting up this theme where you can overcome your PTSD with the help and support of your friends, not if you shove everything out of your life and everyone and isolate yourself. So I think like Tamlin is Feyre's narrative foil. Like she is going to go off and find her friends, her network, and she's going to get over her PTSD and she's going to be better for it. He is not going to do that. He's going to isolate himself. He's even going to drive everyone away.
Yeah.
And he's going to drown in it. That's what's setting up, I think.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's definitely PTSD. They both have it. But I think this whole kind of like emotional kind of like temper tantrum that he has, and then like immediate apology type situation is setting him up to be, I mean, obviously like the abusive boyfriend type, but like I don't think she ever takes it far enough, maybe.
Yeah.
Like this all, it feels like Tamlin just gets right up to the line. Like he punches the wall like right next to her.
Yeah.
When she's like leaning against it type situation.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I think they both have PTSD, and in her case, it's trying to move through it, like deal with it, move forward. And he's just like, it's over and we're going to pretend it never happened.
Yeah. Yeah.
but she doesn't really start thinking of moving through it until she goes to like the night court.
Right,
Yeah.
because she's stuck with Tamlin.
Well,
yeah,
she has no ability to get out. And I think also she has that, like, she kind of has like battered woman syndrome to a certain degree, like unable to think about leaving.
That's kind of where I was trying to lead with like the abusive boyfriend thing. Like this is like he's set up until the point where people start realizing like, oh my God, I'm in like a terrible abusive relationship. Like it's basically like he's going through a hard time. Like it's okay. It's fine. Like I don't think they ever kind of like talk about it in that sense in this book. I don't know about the next book, but I kind of wish they would.
I don't know if Sarah J. Maas had really the ability to get that deep into it. You know what I mean? I mean, this is her. You know,
she could have added like 50 more pages.
Why
Why
not?
not?
Did we need 15 more pages? But like, I mean, she could have taken out some like, I don't know, room description, I guess. But like,
Yeah.
but yeah, I get where you're going, and I do think it's like the battered woman and the whole I'm going to defend my ass boyfriend, even though he's not dealing with his emotions.
Yeah.
And putting it all back on me.
Yeah.
So they try to fuck it better for days.
Gross.
Tamlin's away a lot. She practices mental shielding and reading. Tamlin returns, and soon after, Rhysand shows up to take her to the night court again, per their deal. They have some sort of dick measuring contest about it. Feyre and Tamlin argue again. You don't need to know anything about anything. Just smile, paint, and get pregnant.
Yeah.
Tamlin offers Rhys anything to release her. He refuses, and then Rhys takes her to the night court.
Again, this feels like that abusive boyfriend, like does something really bad and then immediately like love bombs to make it better.
Yeah. Yep.
So her and Rhys have breakfast. He asks why he felt a spike of fear from her earlier in the month, the explosion in the study incident. He asks her to help him head off the war again. She's like, but Tamlin is trying not to be terrible to me, so she doesn't. She shows him that she practiced reading and shielding. He leaves for most of the week, and she reads. He returns and tells her she's a ghost, and not talking about the events under the mountain isn't helping. She throws a book at him.
She throws a lot of shit at him.
You know, I like it. I like that she throws shit at him.
I mean, I do too. She doesn't do anything to Tamlin.
I know. I feel like it's
Just
more real. Just
simpers.
throw shit at him.
Yeah.
Throw that shit at him, Feyre.
So she returns to the spring court, and Tamlin surrounds her with guards again. Tamlin and Lucien are called away. Tamlin dismissed all of the courtiers, so Feyre is alone and bored as hell.
Where the fuck did they go?
I think he just told him to, like,
Go back to their homes.
scoot.
Yeah. What do courtiers do when they're not in court?
Yeah.
That's what I mean. Where do they go? Do they have like a dorm that they sleep in?
I think they have homes in the countryside.
Oh, okay.
When he returns, he heads straight to talk privately with Ianthe, and Feyre thinks she sees Amarantha, like, at the corner of her eye, so she... claws pop out of her fingers, manifesting Tamlin's power. Lucien sees this and confronts her about it. He tells her he will talk to Tamlin about training her since the powers are manifesting anyway. While heading down to dinner, Feyre overhears Ianthe, Lucien, and Tamlin arguing about her. Basically, we need to keep her here in secret and maybe kill Rhysand versus, hey, maybe no.
Yeah.
Feyre skips dinner and goes back to her room. The next day, she is getting cabin fever, so she begs to go to the border with Tamlin and Lucien. Tamlin says no, of course, and she pushes harder, and he suddenly puts up an impenetrable wall around their palace. She's literally trapped inside, and then he winnows away. Lucien says he will talk to him. Fat lot of good this has done so far. And leaves too.
I'm sorry, but this is where I ultra hated Lucien. Like, yes, he is so beta. It is not even funny, but also it's just like, God damn it.
Lucien at this point clearly knows that Tamlin is being unreasonable and that the way he's treating Feyre isn't right, but still can't do anything about it.
No, can't do anything. And I feel like it's better if he were to say, I'm sorry this is happening to you.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing he can do.
But
and
men are problem solvers.
Yeah.
They, are so good at it. I'm not trying to defend Lucien here, but I feel like him and Tamlin have an interesting relationship because Tamlin basically you totally disagree with me.
No,
face.
keep going, because I have my thought about Tamlin.
Okay. But Tamlin kind of like saved, in quotes, Lucien from basically his family bullying him, right?
Yes.
So basically like a, I guess, refugee from there.
Yeah, he's a refugee from his own court. Yes.
Yeah.
And he was given a place to live.
Yeah.
Through Tamlin.
And I don't think Tamlin ever, at least I don't remember him ever saying like, you're here because of me, buddy, type thing. Like
sure.
There's no sort of debt, but maybe in some way Tamlin feels a weird kind of like life debt to him.
Oh, for sure. Now, remember when I was talking about the wraiths, I think the same thing is happening between Tamlin and Lucien, because it's like there's a debt.
Yeah.
You saved me from my crappy ass family who did literally the worst things to me and the people I love. And so now he's indebted to Tamlin. But also, like, in the back of my mind, like, canon-wise, I kind of think the two of them have like a weird love affair going on. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, that would be the most interesting that happened for me in this series.
Always in the back of my head,
gay.
I'm always like, Lucien and Tamlin, bud, that's how it goes. I'm sorry.
There's a lesbian couple later on in this book. Are there any
I think
gay people?
Morrigan turns out to be bi.
Oh.
But I think that's as far as it goes. I think, no, there's a gay High Lord, I believe.
Oh.
Okay, we left off Tamlin traps her inside the palace. Feyre begins to panic, having her PTSD from being a prisoner under the mountain triggered. Someone shows up and moves her as she passes out. She kind of blacks out and can't see. She hears Alice tell Morrigan to take care of her. Morrigan brings her to Rhysand, and Rhysand takes her to the night court. And then she passes out again. She wakes up in the night court, and Rhys tells her that she screamed and wrapped shadows around herself. He took the wall down, but Morrigan went in because of like technicalities and High Lord rules. Like,
yeah, High Lords can't just like waltz into other territories without. Otherwise, it would be a whole thing. Like, he wants to avoid a war with Tamlin. But I don't really understand because he's like fine playing around with Tarquin later, so I don't know.
But wasn't he invited to Tarquin's house?
He was invited to Tarquin's
kind
house.
of like vampire.
But the shit that he did to Tarquin, like, there were consequences. So he
also
took that.
he like showed up in the middle of Feyre's wedding, which he definitely wasn't invited to.
Yeah,
so
but the wedding was
whatever.
outside.
Okay.
True. But also there was the loophole with the bargain overriding it, so like he had that to go on.
Oh.
Yeah. This was outside of the bargain. He just came in and was like, we're going.
Feyre says that she'll go back to the spring court eventually, but she's super upset with Tamlin, so she wants to stay here for now. After a couple days, she begs to go on errands with Rhys, and because he's not Tamlin, he says yes, but swears her to secrecy. Then he takes her to a city, and that's the end of part 1. So start of part 2. He takes her to his personal house in Velaris. Velaris is a vibrant city, as Rhys was able to keep it a secret during the war and Amarantha's reign. The whole city.
Yeah. So
I picture his house like a fancy brownstone.
Absolutely. Yeah, this is a fancy brownstone in New York.
Yeah, kind of built into the side of a hill is how I see it.
Yeah.
Some people come to the door, but Feyre decides to meet them later and goes for a nap. She mentions that the bed linens are cream and ivory, and I immediately wondered if fairies get their period.
Okay, I think about this all the time. In every book that I read, in every like movie that I watch, I'm like, why do these women not have periods?
Yeah.
Like, does everyone just exist on the pill? What's this potion that they're taking?
Yeah.
How do none of them have like PMDD or PMS or like any like?
Yeah.
Can we just do it as like a one-off line where we talk about it once and then we get it? Also, it would be like a perfect kind of like, oh, sorry, I was a bitch to you yesterday. Like, it would create so much drama.
Well, I know
personally. Or like, I'm
personally.
feeling horny because I'm like, ovulating, or like, ugh, I'm so tired because it's my luteal phase. Like,
Yeah, part of my personal experience as a woman has been any hotel or Airbnb that I've ever gone into and seen white sheets. Part of my brain goes, holy shit, I hope I don't bleed on these, even if I'm not on my period.
yeah.
Yeah. I'm reading The Cruel Prince right now by Holly Black, and she mentions it.
Oh, good for her.
Yeah, so it's like, because there are two humans that live in fairyland, and they're like constantly having to go steal like tampons from the mortal world.
That's awesome.
And then she's like, do you want to know the deal with the fairies and the periods? She's like, the deal is they have one period per year. One.
See,
they save it up.
Like,
Let it all out at once. Spend one day on the
Can you
toilet.
imagine that one day? Yeah.
bleed like a gallon of blood just the one day.
Honestly, preferable. I'd do it too.
Yeah. The only time,
Like, I'd just take that week off work.
yeah, they don't even talk about contraception or anything, like, ever.
No, and we've talked about that before. I really think in a fantasy world, if you're going to have your characters have sex, you should talk about the contraception. 'Cause
Yeah.
people are going to wonder.
Yeah.
Feyre takes a 4-hour nap. This is the most relatable she's been so far.
I know, right? That
Truly.
4-hour nap. Like, how?
I could go for one right now.
I
I'm
know.
so tired.
She finally gets to wear pants instead of dresses.
Yay.
And like, isn't she in that stupid like harem pants?
She does have to wear a crop top, so
Yes.
I read
I'm
them
not
as
into that.
gauchos.
See,
Like
I
a crop
saw
top and gaucho moment, you know?
I definitely saw it as like harem pants, say with elastic at the ankles.
Yeah, I was just trying to be a little more modern. Or flared leggings for all you young people out there.
I know. Terrible.
They go for a walk in the city. It's pretty, it's peaceful, it's busy. No one treats her weird like they do in the spring court. And it's right next to the sea and the mountains. So basically a perfect city.
But they have to have like super weird weather, like either terrible snow or wind.
It's just fairy world.
I know, but
Yeah.
I just...
As far as I understand, it is the perfect city. Like, it doesn't have terrible snow or wind because it's Valaris. If anything, they have the best snow and the best wind.
Yeah.
I'm sorry for even questioning.
How dare you, Emma?
So Rhys points out his other home that's in the tallest peak. That's like his super special cozy home.
Yeah, he has 2 homes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's not allowed to go that one.
Yeah, he's so rich though.
She immediately starts giving him shit about protecting his city during the war, like because he mind controlled people and stuff to forget about the existence of Valaris.
Yeah, the whole thing just like feels like the trolley problem, which is like continue straight and kill 5 people, or you move tracks and then you kill 1. Like it's a lose-lose.
Yeah, exactly. Like I don't get why she's so mad about it. I think she just wants to be mad.
Again,
Yeah, she
it's like
really
that
just
thing
wants
with
to be
the
mad.
refugees, right? She's
Yeah.
mad at anyone who didn't get Amarantha's crap.
Yeah.
She's like, how dare these people like skate away unscathed? That it's and like because it's just internalized crap that she's dealing with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They talk about meeting Rhys's friends the next day, and she gets through his shield and sees what she looks like to others. So she's really gaunt right now because she's been not eating and barfing a lot.
I bet her breasts are not magnificent
Oh,
anymore.
yeah.
No.
We learned the word daimati,
I think so, yeah.
Daimati?
Don't
Daimati.
even ask me. We
Okay.
know I don't know.
which is the name for people who can go into other people's minds. So it's like a subclass
Yeah.
of power that you can have, and she can do it, and Rhys can do it. Rhys also says, we're rare. The trait appears as the mother wills it. And at that point, I was like, who is the mother? The only god that they ever talk about involves the cauldron.
Their religion is so vague. Like they have a cauldron and they have a mother.
Like, because I really liked the idea of the cauldron. I like the idea of being the thing that they invoke is like a physical object and not a person.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
was neat. Mm-hmm.
Because they all got like poured out of it.
Yeah,
basically,
exactly.
right?
Yes.
Yeah. I kind of like it.
So I was confused by the mother. So the next day, I think,
Yeah.
they are arguing because Rhys needs to carry her in order to fly up to the House of the Wind, which is his super cozy secret house. She relents, and she gets to feel his hard body and smell him. She's all pressed up against him.
What does he smell like? Do we remember? Probably. Let's guess what he smells like.
Leather and wind.
Yeah.
Night. Ooh, night and wind.
Night and wind.
Probably like leather and cedar.
Yeah.
Oh.
Boring.
If it's sandalwood, I'm gonna check right
I
out.
bet you there's a Reese candle out there.
I bet there.
Oh, I'll bet
there
there's a
is. There
bunch.
totally is.
Yeah.
I
I'm
can
gonna buy you
give you a
one.
link to one right now.
I think. Tabitha, are you googling?
No, I'm gonna.
You just opened to Libby.
Yes. I wanted to see what he smells like.
Oh no. Okay.
Do you have it from Libby right now? Do you think if I
It
just...
just got returned.
Ah, damn.
Fuck.
Anyway, moving on. She looks out over the city and for the first time admits that what happened to her at the spring court was fucked up and maybe that's not how she wants to spend eternity.
Oh, good for her.
Yeah.
Ooh, sea salt and citrus.
That's his smell.
Oh, no. I think that would be what Tarquin smells like. So this next chapter starts with the words Rhys sauntered, which, classic. He doesn't walk. He never walks, just
No,
saunters.
Listen, walking is almost the least sexy form of transportation. Running is absolutely the least.
Yeah.
Despite what Juno says in that beginning scene. What's the sexiest form of transportation, though? Or I should say, mode of moving. Maybe not.
I mean,
form of
sauntered, probably.
transportation. Not crawling.
Oh God.
Wiggling.
Doing the Bernie.
So she meets Cassian and Azriel.
Azriel.
I think Azriel.
Okay. Azriel is his spy master. He is a shadow singer, which is another random special thing, like a daimati. I just like better at shadows and hiding and disappearing and stuff.
It's like his shadows literally do his bidding. So they're kind of like puppies as far as I
Is
can
Reese
tell.
both then? Can he do both? Or is he just a Daimati?
He's just a Daimati.
He just, I think, has more power.
He has more power than literally everybody.
So we can kind of do it, but Azrael does it better, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Whatever.
I could be pulling that out of my ass. I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's okay. I just want to say, I love that Shadow Singer is like a normal word. Like, it
Right?
makes sense. And then we have Daimati, which is just a keyboard smash of letters.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like,
Daimati really sounds like a
Pickle
rice
lane.
dish to me.
It does. It does. Yeah. Like it involves pickles or something.
yeah.
Yeah.
Pickled rice.
So then Cassian is the commander of his army. More important than any of this that we're discussing right now, what their powers are, is that they're both hot.
They
Yeah.
are 3 hot adopted brothers.
Yeah.
How much better can it
That
get?
sounds like the beginning of a X-rated movie.
It's the beginning of most romance novels that are series.
I mean, I'm sure there's throuple fan fiction out there.
I'm sure.
yeah. I bet.
Morgan is also there, and so is Amryn, who is very clearly, she's not really Fae. She's coded as a vampire or demon,
Yeah,
right?
she's some other, but they like never describe it in this book.
She's like some old god, basically. Like
Yeah.
she drinks blood. That's all she does.
Yeah, she's like an old god trapped in a petite body.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, she is like trapped in her body. Isn't
She is. She's not supposed to be in the body she's in. It's not
Yeah.
her body.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So they eat dinner, and it's way more casual and fun than it is in the spring court.
Yeah,
Very
they like each other.
Found family.
They explain to her that the gems in their gauntlet are siphons, which allow them to make greater use of their magical powers. Apparently, they keep them on during casual meals.
Well, if they took them off, their powers would just go crazy.
Yeah, that'd be nuts.
But I will say, I think the people in this book are like so overpowered just in their casual descriptions. Like Amryn is supposed to be like the most powerful person ever. Like even Reese is scared of her.
Yeah.
But then this sets up the story for like, who's the evil villain? Like, I mean, I know it's the Lord, like King of Ireland or whatever the hell his name is. But like it runs into the same problem I think that like the Avengers had, like in Marvel. They're just so powerful that like every villain that you have to get has to be like exponentially more powerful than the last.
Yeah.
That you run into this part where like the only possible, I don't know, scary situation that they're in is like the whole world is about to die.
Yeah. Yeah.
It just, the
yeah.
stakes are like,
you're basically describing the TV show Supernatural right now.
Yeah.
Like that was my issue with it. Is
Yeah.
like literally what in the 3rd season is when they unleash hell upon Earth, and it's like, what do you do after that?
Yeah.
Hell
like,
is already here.
There's really nothing you can do.
I know, like I had to like pause at this moment. I'm like, so everyone in here is like the strongest person ever?
Riss is the highest
The High Lords.
of high lords. Yeah. And everybody else is the best at what they do.
Yeah, it's
Yes.
just
And
fake.
Yes.
on that note, they explained to Feyre that they hold no titles other than Reese, and that they worked to keep the city safe while Reese was trapped under the mountain.
Okay, but like people are like the commanders of the army and like the general.
True,
and,
those
like,
are titles.
So they do actually have titles.
Yeah.
They do.
so
They have titles. They just don't. They don't
just don't use them.
Yeah.
So Reese starts monologuing his life story, telling her how his parents met, how his mother was a low-born Illyrian and his dad was a high fae lord, but they were fated mates. So they had to get together and have a kid.
There's only option.
His mom took Reese to an Illyrian war camp to train, and that's where he met and befriended Cassian and Azrael. Jesus Christ, this chapter is long. So the bad court, the one that Reese showed Amarantha, is in the mountain, like in it, and he kind of lets them run it himself. That is what they call the Court of Nightmares. That's like the bad reputation that the Night Kingdom has. But the inner circle, which is Reese, Mor, Amryn, Cassian, and Azrael, call themselves the Court of Dreams.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, sincerely, this chapter is so fucking long because why unveil characters and their histories naturally when you can just vomit all up in one
Right,
dinner
right.
as an
Like,
introduction?
If we did it naturally, we would have to have
Yeah.
2 different books.
We
Or this book
would.
would be so
Yeah.
big.
It would
You would
be
need
so
like a
goddamn long.
3-inch binder to hold it.
Which I've been in this situation where people like start monologuing their life to you, and
Yeah.
Awkward.
it's awkward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You start thinking, how can I get out of this?
I know. I was
I
like, I didn't
also-
ask for this conversation.
No, and
Yeah.
I also like zone out, and then I have to remind myself to zone back in, and then I'm like, oh no, what question do I ask to show people I've been paying attention? Also, really hot take. I kind of wish the Court of Nightmares was like kind of just a front that Reese and like them all have to put on as kind of a way to save their Court of Dreams and Valaris. Like, I don't know. I know Reese is supposed to be like morally gray coded, but like they do some fucked up shit down there.
They do.
And it just makes me kind of like feel icky about it.
Yeah.
You know?
I get it. Yeah.
Like I wish he was kind of like
I mean, he did also have to like brains out people in Amarantha's court.
Yeah.
So he has killed and messed up some people.
Yeah, but he did that with like he had to do it. Like there was a knife to his throat if he didn't.
Yeah.
But here it's like he's choosing to do it in order to protect his people. But then at the same time, I'm like, if you're already controlling or asking all of them, I guess, to be nice people and not tell others about your super secret special city, why can't you just like fate the court of nightmares?
Yeah.
I mean, I know like his uncle's down there or something.
Yeah. His uncle is down there. It's
A dick.
It would probably would have required more explanation.
It would have, but yeah.
Okay, so she tells them her story and repeats what Tamlin said about it looking bad for her to fight, and they call bullshit. They talk about the upcoming war, Hybern, and how he might try to bring back Jurian. Jurian was the human that caused the first war between the humans and the fairies, right? Or was like the major player?
He was a major player,
Okay.
yeah.
I don't remember.
He has some fucked up history with Amarantha and her
His
sister.
eyeball was in a what, necklace?
No,
and a
ring.
ring. Yeah.
Yeah, from the first book. That's what you
I'm
might
reading
remember.
the second, or the third one right now, and I had to pause because I couldn't remember who Jurian is. Also, I keep thinking of Durian the Fruit.
I do too.
Yeah, same.
So anyway, because they might bring back Jurian, they need to talk to somebody called the Bone Carver. So they talk about Rhys's mental powers, and he explains how he was able to keep Valar's secret for 49 years in the Amarantha's court. One of the many mentions of him being sexually abused by Amarantha in a way that feels way too casual to me.
No, it's way casual.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, by the way.
Yeah, these genuinely dreadful nightmarish things happen to him. That night, she has a nightmare about Amarantha, and Rhysand wakes her up. She goes to the bathroom to barf and notices her fingers are on fire, manifesting powers, and he talks her down.
But like her sheets aren't on fire.
Yeah, her bed is literally like burning to the ground.
It's magic fire.
Oh.
So they go to the prison that the Bone Carver is in, but they need to walk under a mountain to get in. Feyre freaks out about that, and they leave. This chapter is much, much shorter than the last one. So Amren then gives her an amulet, telling her that it'll keep her safe in the prison.
Yeah,
Like, it won't allow her to be trapped.
She was in the prison. This is how she got out, she says.
Yeah, Amren was.
Oh. I don't remember that.
So Rhys and Feyre return to the prison. As they walk in, we get more exposition about everybody's roles in the night court. I did not include it because it's not necessary.
So they get into like Cassian is his general because he's like the best warrior and he beat Rhys in a fight, which does not really equate to being the best general in my mind, but whatever. Like you have to have like ability to think to be a general, not ability to fight, right?
Yeah. He's his adopted brother, so he has to have a role.
I know. He has to be the best at something. And then he like casually explains Azriel's trauma to her. Like, yeah, Azriel was basically an abused feral. And I'm like,
Azriel is very black cat coated. Lives in the shadows.
Yeah, it was like Azriel was raised in a box and occasionally poked with sticks. That's basically his backstory.
He had a little blanket to keep warm in the winter, and we put out a can of food every so often until finally the old lady brought him in. Like, that's literally.
Yeah, I don't know. I find it so weird that we're just like casually talking about people's trauma in this book. It's just like, oh yeah, this happened to him. He was. Yeah.
I know it's to show that they're just like so close that like all of this is not a big deal. But at the same time, I'm like,
and they're like, let me tell you, Feyre, about the time when I was 4. And then, like, my mother died. And then everybody casually treated me like a stray cat. And it was terrible. And then suddenly Rhysand showed up and loved me. And I was like, a brother. Yeah. It's all like that.
So they eventually get to the Bone Carver's cell. And the thing about the Bone Carver is that it is a being that has no set material form. So, like, one person might see it one way, one person might see it another way. It just depends on how it wants to appear. So it appears to Feyre as an 8-year-old boy.
And that's the 8-year-old boy is Rhys, right? As a child.
I thought it was like the child that Feyre's probably going to have.
I literally have no idea.
Okay, yeah. So I was assuming it was Rhys.
I mean, that makes sense.
At some point he talks about being 8 and something happens to him. I don't remember
I mean,
what,
he just
like,
monologued his childhood for like 2 chapters.
Right,
so.
because that's where I'm thinking like it would make
mind.
sense that it's Rhys as a kid.
So yeah, it appears to Feyre as an 8-year-old boy, and it appears to Rhys as Jurian. They do the classic question for question thing from fantasy. She explains what it was like to die, And he explains how you could bring someone back using the mystical cauldron. Bring someone back from the dead, I mean. This is when he mentions a book that was made from the same metal as the cauldron. Yada, yada, yada. Feyre being reforged means that she might be able to use it. Something about her powers.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember that at all.
This is when
why
they
we have
start.
Tabitha
I mean,
telling us.
I love the bone carver, but I'm like, wow, I don't remember any of that.
Yeah, this is when you start getting into the like, oh, you need the cauldron, but to use the cauldron, you need the book. You need the book to get the book. You need to go here.
This
It's
is
the
where
whole
they're
thing.
setting up like the big journey they have to take.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Feyre might be the person who's able to use the cauldron to do the magic that they need to do. The bone carver is probably my favorite character in this story. I love a calm but terrifying unknown quantity.
I like the bone cover too. I think he had like a certain like panache. He was into it. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what? I'm not gonna lie. I liked Warrior Reese in this chapter too. There was something about the way that he was like handling himself. That I'm like, okay, I like this version of you, even though you don't really do anything warriorish. I just like the vibe.
Mm-hmm. Confident men. Competent men, I should say.
Competent. Yeah, he was very competent.
Mm-hmm.
So they get back and tell the Court of Dreams what the bone carver said. They discuss plans to either steal back the cauldron or its legs and the 2-part of the Book of Breathings. Remember I said that it's a cauldron and a book now that they're looking for.
2 parts.
Yeah.
It has been split in 2.
Yeah.
They think Feyre might be able to track the book like a bloodhound for magical items, basically. To test this theory, Reese is going to take her to the Weaver. Yes, we're going to the Weaver now. Mm-hmm. They also talk about using Feyre's family estate as neutral territory to meet with some human queens that they have a deal with. There was some like treaty signed a while back. Mm-hmm. The next day, they go to the Weaver's cottage. Reese explains that she is technically blind, but can sense any changes around her and is very dangerous. She is to identify an object that belongs to Reese that is in the house, take it, and touch nothing else.
So this is where there's a really funny sort of, I think, error, honestly, because Feyre complains to him. She has the nerve to complain, like, why can't you do this? And I'm like, Feyre, sweetheart, were you not paying attention? The whole point is to see if you can do it.
Right.
To test your powers. So where have you been? Did
Yeah.
you like have a brain fart somewhere?
But also, she's like, the Weaver's like a hoarder.
Yeah.
So she's supposed to sniff it out.
She is. She's supposed to sniff it out. That's the whole point. And then she's like complaining about it. Like, oh, God.
She just loves to complain.
So they winnow to an ancient forest outside the cottage. They flirt. And as she gets closer, she hears the Weaver singing what is clearly meant to be Twa Sisters, or the Two Sisters, or the Wind and the Rain, the Bows of London, or Round 8, or Child 10. But not any version I'm familiar with.
I feel
Anything, guys?
I have no clue
no
what you
idea
just
what you're
said.
talking about, and I feel like that was just a flex on all of us.
Yeah, no kidding.
It totally was.
I was like,
So in UK, British Isle folk music, there are 2 people that tried to index folk songs. The first one was a guy whose surname was Child, and so they're referred to as the Child ballads. There's, I want to say, a couple hundred that he managed to do, and it was supposed to be like the most traditional songs of the British Isles that he was making sure we had copies of.
Yeah.
There was an ethnologist that came along later, Roud, who cataloged more of them. And this is a very early one, this particular song that she sings. That's why it's Child 10 and Round 8, because it's one of the ones we like really know a lot about.
Got it.
And it's goes by a bunch of different names, but it basically tells the story of a sister who kills another sister, and then that body like decomposes and the bones wash up on the shore, and a guy picks up the bones and makes a fiddle out of them. But the only song that the fiddle will play is the story of the sister getting killed
Oh.
and the bones being found.
What do you think S.J. Maas majored in college?
I have no idea.
Like I
You could
said,
find out.
if anybody is going to know like a British folk song, it's going to be this one.
Yeah.
This is a
Okay.
very, very
Okay.
common one.
Okay.
So that is my flex.
All right. You did
So this is a hoarder house, and the Weaver is spinning on a loom. Feyre senses out the ring and grabs it. The Weaver immediately stops singing. She turns around, and we see that she has the body of a young woman, but her face is that of a decayed corpse with the eyes rotted out. Total butterface. Feyre grabs a candle and sets the place on fire.
As you would. Good work, Feyre.
Yeah, the woman's just too ugly. Can't take it. Gotta set it on fire. And then she tries to climb up the chimney. She gets stuck.
Oh, yeah. This is actually a really well written chapter.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
enjoyed
this
it.
isn't bad. So she's suppressing a panic attack at this point, throws a brick at the Weaver, and hauls herself out, covered in some delicious human grease.
That's the part that I actually really liked. I was like, that's great.
Yeah, she realizes that there's like human like skin and fat and hair stuck in the chimney.
Everything in the house was like made of human or like flesh or something gross.
She runs from tree to tree like a little squirrel.
This is when I was like, nope, now it's ruined.
I know, because all I could picture is like the trees around us, and like they're not strong enough to hold you.
Like, what kind of branches are we working with here?
Yeah. Like redwood, fine, but like a pine, no, you're immediately falling to your death.
So Rhys finds her and winnows them back to the House of the Wind. She barfs in front of everyone because that's just what she does. That's how she says hi.
I was like, Feyre.
I mean, this is the only time when I'm like, fine, you could throw up because like you have human like fat
in your mouth.
In your mouth. And you have like hair matted to you.
Yeah,
like,
that's fair. Yeah.
Fine.
So everyone realizes that Rhys did this not just for the ring and for Feyre to show that she could sense magic items.
Except for Feyre, apparently.
Yeah, but so Feyre could prove to herself that she could do something. She could get scared and then keep going. Yeah, apparently everyone's cool with this.
Yeah, everyone's like very casual.
Oh, yeah.
They're just like, oh, good job, girl. Mm-hmm. Go clean yourself up.
Yeah. I think that's intentional, though, because it's like, yeah, you know, we're not going to like pat you on the head and say, good job, girl. Like, this isn't a big deal.
Yeah.
You did this thing. All right, cool. Moving on.
Mm.
When he escorts her to her room, he shows her a memory of many, many years ago where Ianthe tries to seduce him. I didn't pick it up on my first read, but this seems like a weird time for this story to tell her this story when she's all like covered in human fat and barf.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember.
I think it's meant to be like a vulnerability for vulnerability exchange.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. Is definitely I have to show you some vulnerability now, and I think he was also trying to say like you have powers that if Ianthe had figured out that you had them, she would have done something terrible to you. And she's like, I don't really believe that. And so here's he's telling her like, this is what she did to me, even before everything. And then he's saying like, he's surprised that Ianthe didn't try to carve Feyre up to figure out her power. And then says, quote, Ianthe is among the worst of them, unquote. So yeah,
Poor guy has been just like molested and like basically raped by everyone.
Yeah. And we don't get to
very
see
few problems about it.
Well,
like, or I should say not problems about it, but like he doesn't seem very affected.
He does. He's affected later on in the book. He kind of starts to show how affected he is, but only once he and Feyre have like a thing going on. But I think it is weird that he kind of is. You don't get to see much of the high priestesses in Prythian aside from Ianthe.
Yeah.
And Rhys is careful to be like, hashtag not all high priestesses, but he's like certainly more on the side of you gotta be careful about those women in power who aren't allowed to have it by high lords. Am I right?
Yeah.
So this is where like, I don't know about that. But also Ianthe's seduction tactics are tacky as fuck.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, she's basically like in his chambers naked and is like, look at my hot body.
Yeah. Oh my God. She like spreads her legs open. And she's like, look at this.
She absolutely buys those double cup push-up bras from Victoria's Secret. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, absolutely.
So now they're preparing to go to the mortal lands, and Rhys is going to fly her there, but she feels attraction to him, so she balks and has Azriel fly her there through a break in the wall.
Yeah, I love Azriel's response to that. He's just like, yeah, okay.
Feyre sees her sisters for the first time since she became Fae, and her sisters are creeped out by her. Elaine is marrying the son of some dude who hates fairies.
Yeah, her engagement ring is made out of iron. Romantic.
Yes, very.
They reluctantly agree to let them hold the meeting with the queens at their house, which remember now they live in a much, they don't live in that hovel anymore.
Yeah,
they live in a much nicer house. They got their fortune back.
Yeah.
Well, because Tamlin paid for it.
He did.
Yeah.
He gave it to them. And I do think it's kind of adorable that their plan here is to post a polite letter to a bunch of rando humans they've never met. Like, hey, like, what do you think that letter even said? Just like, I'm the High Lord of Prythian.
Yeah.
I would really love it if you could talk to me about the book that you have. Please, respond to post haste.
Here's my wax seal to prove that it's actually me.
Right?
Ridiculous.
So Feyre introduces Rhys, Cassian, and Azriel to her sisters. She notes Rhys's star-flecked violet eyes. Once again, he's allowed to have flecks. Tamlin now has chips.
Yes. Very important distinction.
Nesta remains a huge bitch for no reason. It's one thing to be cold and proud. It's another to openly insult people and to pick fights, which is what Nesta does. Cassian tells her she sucks for letting Feyre go through everything she did.
And he is not wrong.
No, he's right.
Yeah. They spend hours writing this letter to deliver to the queens. And then they head to sleep, and there's only one bed.
Oh no!
What are we going to do? So Rhys conjures a bed for himself.
This man is ready for all situations. He's like an elf MacGyver.
This is the point in the story. I think we can all agree that they needed to kiss.
I know.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
Okay, I have a lot of opinions about how kind of fucked this romance is.
Well,
I'm so irritated that she dragged it out, and you're like, you could kiss at any time here, please. I can't take it anymore.
But doesn't she
This is
need
like
to,
page 500. I need you to kiss.
She needs to like break up, if you will. There's air
Yes,
quotes around that with
I know.
Tamlin first.
I know, you're right. She needs to completely break it off with Tamlin before she'll let herself kiss Rhys. And it's just...
I know.
Rhys takes her out into the middle of nowhere to train and then leaves. They write on some magic notepad back and forth, and out of nowhere she gets attacked by the Adder. Remember the Adder? It's one of the quote-unquote lesser fae from the first book. Rhys shows up and binds it. It admits that the king of Hybern wants Feyre and an army is ready to invade Prythian. Then Azrael shows up and whisks it off to be tortured. Rhys admits that he wanted to see who would try to capture her when she was alone. She gets mad and winnows for the first time. I always find it interesting that in a lot of these books, the thing that like prompts somebody to be able to do something that they've been trying to do is rage. It's very Teenage Poltergeist or Subway Ghost in the movie Ghost to me. Like, I feel like you would need a calm, clear mind to do magic, but maybe I'm just coming at it from a different angle. Or maybe that is to say I'm coming at it from the difference between a wizard versus, say, a sorcerer, to be a huge dork about
Yeah,
it.
I'm here for it.
No, I kind of see how initially it might be rage that starts it, and then like, yeah, you need to like temper it and actually then like move forward and intentionally do it. It's just that for whatever reason, people always choose rage. They don't choose like fear or like excitement or like sadness. It's always, I'm mad, therefore my power is going to manifest.
I feel like that's because they always try to tie it to like a strong emotion, and the easiest one to feel uncontrol with
is anger.
That doesn't. Yeah,
It is an
out of
interesting
control.
point that it's never like excitement. Like, have you ever been so excited that like you think to yourself like, "Whoa, I gotta rein it in"?
Yeah,
I literally just laughed so hard I was crying. Okay, like if I'm gonna manifest power ever, it's gonna be because I'm too excited.
We would all be dead right now.
You would be. I would have murdered everyone in this room. You'd be like slats upon the wall.
He shows her a vision of how they got information out of the Adder, so like a little bit of torture. He finds out that they don't know about the Cauldron book and whatnot, so they break its wings, legs, and dump it off the coast of Hybern. Hybern, sorry.
That's okay.
Hybern was another book that we read. She sends a letter to Tamlin explaining that she left of her own free will and will not return. This is her decision to not return. She apparently thinks this will do something and that Tamlin isn't out of his mind right now.
Yeah, it's like another, we'll just politely post a letter and assume that everything will fix it. Like, that's going to be fine.
Do you think they have post people in both worlds?
I mean, they assume that they have like a post office in the human world, but post offices in Prythian, no one mentions a post office.
Or do they use like owls or some dumb
Yeah.
bird? Like
Yeah,
I
I'll
think
bet.
it's probably like messengers via
Potter.
horse, like
Yeah.
all like 1800s England. Yeah.
Amryn is like, what the fuck? We don't have a tithe. We just pay taxes like normal people, which I appreciate. Amryn also admits that the amulet she gave Feyre to go into the prison isn't magic. Feyre just needed some like support.
I love that.
Yes. It's like the whole point of the book. You just need some support, Feyre. I'll let yourself have support.
Feyre would absolutely have an emotional support water bottle.
Oh, she would. Yeah. What do you think? Would you be a Stanley Cup girl?
Oh my God, what a good question. I'm so sorry. I just got so excited by that.
She was a hunter.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Let me tell you what I think is going to happen. Okay, I think Feyre would absolutely be a Calpac girl. Okay. I think Nesta would have a Stanley.
See, I think Elaine would.
Okay, hold on. And I think Elaine would have an Awala.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's more colorful.
Yeah, I can see that. She likes color.
And it's more on trend.
I can see Nesta being a Stanley Cup girl. I can see
Like
that.
she would have like
Yeah.
100 of them.
Oh, yeah.
She would never go out and actually get them. They would be like gifted to her or something. You know, she can't lower herself.
Cassian's
like that.
just giving her Stanley Cups.
Yes.
As a way of like wooing her.
Oh my God. Yes. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I'm right there.
No, you think
To
you're
our
good.
listeners out there.
So they go to dinner in Valaris, and it's nice. That's literally it. That's it. They just
Okay,
go out,
when-
and it's nice.
No,
When
it
they
is
all
nice.
go out, and then is this when they all go out?
No,
I think this is like a date.
They literally have a date in Valaris. They're just walking around. They see like people eating in restaurants, and they see some like music being played.
Which
Okay,
I
this is
fucking
not-
hate live
and-
music in restaurants. Holy shit, I
I
do.
do.
I think
too.
this is when she realizes though that the music is the same type of music that Rhysand piped into her cell under the mountain, and she's like, "Oh, I did it now. It's all connecting."
Yeah.
But I do generally really enjoy the fan art of Rhys and Feyre like jaunting around in Valaris at
Yeah.
this, like for this particular scene because they look like two Winter Olympians on a date in the quaint like Swedish village.
Wait, can you send me some?
I will.
Please.
I absolutely will because they look exactly like that.
I love it. The only fan art I've seen from Valaris is whatever that ball is with the stars in the second part.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Then what is it called?
Oh, this like Starfall, I think.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Because all the people in America or humans and like the Earth keep trying to have that.
Yes. Yeah, the Starfall ball. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I saw recently they had one in Kansas City. Can you imagine the
Dude,
Starfall ball in Missouri? Sorry, Missouri.
Well, wait, Kansas City, Missouri, Kansas City.
I think it was Missouri.
Okay.
Oh my god, I would love to listen to these characters having like Southern accents.
That would have been
That'd
really
be
fun.
so funny. Hello, darling.
Back in their separate rooms, they use the magic notepad to send flirty notes back and forth. Later, Cassian trains Feyre on fighting, and she ogles their hot bods.
As she should.
Absolutely, she should. Like, what's right there? Why not look?
Yeah.
She starts punching and thinks about thinks about things that make her mad, like Tamlin caging her in after everything she did for him. Then she thinks about the people she killed, and Rhys comes over and hugs her. This is her like moment of release from the bad stuff
she
that
finally
happened.
lets it go. Now they can finally kiss. Just frickin' kiss already.
She broke up with Tamlin in that note.
Yeah, exactly.
Which, like, how
they're
middle
broken up.
school of her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One time I dated someone in middle school for like one period. We like started dating in study hall, and then during lunch I wrote a note and sent it to him about how we had to break up. I couldn't handle it. That's absolutely what Feyre did.
Once
Like
in,
one page glitter pen. I'm so sorry. You still
Once
mean so much to me at the bottom.
pre-Columbine, my best friend and I sent her stepbrother a death threat.
Oh my god.
Nothing happened to us because, like I said, it was pre-Columbine.
Yeah. Whoa, Tabitha.
Yeah.
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 Thank God it
And we
wasn't
bribed him
gross.
with Halloween candy to keep it quiet once
okay.
he figured out it was us. Feyre is training with Cassian when Amren and Maura arrive to meet with Rhys. He shows up to tell her that they, Feyre, Amren, and Rhysand, are invited to the summer court. Have we found out at this point that the reason they want to go to the summer court is because they want to steal their shit?
Yeah.
Yes.
They think they have part of the book there
They
that they would need
in-
to take.
Yeah, they're in safekeeping.
Okay, so the three of them winnow to Adriata, the castle city by the sea of the summer court. They meet the court, including the High Lord Tarquin, and everybody behaves like an asshole, as is their role, being from the Night Court.
Yeah,
Remember, they have to show everyone that they're mean.
Keep up
Again.
appearances.
If they just had like this kind of like fake nightmare court, this would just roll a little bit easier for me.
It would. I mean, they do have a fake nightmare court, but
But it's real to the people down there. Like they do the fucked up shit down there.
right.
And like
I think it was because
Moore has to like she's like the queen of it, kind of.
Well, her dad's the king, so she's like the princess
Yeah.
Yeah.
of
I
Nightmare
think
Court.
that back when this all first started, he had to show Amarantha something, and he had to show her a real something. So
Yeah, that's what he showed her. He showed her the Court of Nightmares, and
yes,
that's
and
why.
he's like, "This is my court."
Right, so she styled Under the Mountain just like the Court of Nightmares, and as far as everyone's concerned, the Court of Nightmares is the Night Court.
Yeah. So this whole location is extremely Mediterranean. Like there's so many descriptions of what the summer court is like, and it's Mediterranean, which I think is really funny because I looked at where this was located on the map of Prythian in where it would be in the British Isles, and it would be exactly where Aberystwyth is in Wales. So
I
it's-
pictured it like the town where Prince Eric lives in The Little Mermaid.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, south of France.
Yeah.
One of the courtiers threatens to send Feyre back to Tamland, and Tarquin tells everyone to chill the fuck out. In their rooms, Feyre and Rhys talk about their plan, and she worries Tamland will fight the other courts for her. Here's a random quote from this scene. He stopped with his fingers on the sea urchin-shaped handle. That sounds to me impractical and uncomfortable.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm assuming she means the shell of the sea urchin, which could be an interesting detail, but since they did not say the shell, I can only assume it's full of spikes.
Yeah,
Sorry.
We get lots of description about how beachy and sunny this place is. She chats with Tarquin while Rhys seduces his sister. This bums Feyre out, who is surprised to be feeling any emotion at all. She leaves and goes for a walk.
And another walk.
Yeah. When she comes back, she takes a bath and plays with her water magic, which is stronger here in the summer court. Remember, because she got some powers from Tarquin. So Tarquin takes her on a tour, stopping in the treasure room. He gives her a necklace of black diamonds from their hoard, and they flirt hardcore. Back in her room, Rhysand and Feyre bicker because they were both jealous of the nothing that happened with other people. Like, Christ, you need to get your shit together.
I know, I'm like, I needed the kiss, like, right?
This would be another good
in
spot to
here.
kiss.
Like, this is, I mean, again, this is my main critique of this whole book, is that she drags the will they won't they romantic tension out to the point that I want to start throwing shit, because he's like, yeah, totally, you should fuck those other dudes if that's what you want to do. And I'm like, Rhys, I need you to up your game here, because Feyre is the most dense person alive, and you've got to make it more obvious that you're obsessed with her, so I can stop dying a little inside whenever this book tries to suggest y'all have other romantic options. So just stop. Kiss already. Just do it.
I'll be honest, I kind of love this kind of like pining tension that happens. I'm like reading a full story of it.
It's
And
fine.
it's like
usually
painful, but I love it.
It's just
a lot of the time in these romances, there is like maybe a midway point when they have a pretense to kiss
Yeah.
or share a bed or something, you know, like in Fourth Wing when they're horny because their dragons are doing it.
Yeah.
So when he had to like magically produce a bed,
Yeah.
he could have just not done that and gotten in bed with her
Well,
and
he does
still
it
not
later
kissed.
on, right?
Yeah, only at the hotel that they go to or whatever. There's only one bed. But you know what? They had an option to do that before. So you know what? It kind of feels like repetitive at this point. So
Yeah.
now I'm just like, you could have done this earlier.
I do agree. At this point would have been a perfect point to kiss.
Yes.
And because she broke up with Tamlin.
Yeah, she broke up with him. Like, what's holding you back? Just do it.
She doesn't realize that she truly loves Rhys yet is the problem.
I know.
So Feyre spends a couple of days wandering around the city looking for where the book could possibly be. She sees the city and the people damaged by the long war, but rebuilding now. It's kind of a parallel to Valaris, which wasn't damaged at all. Off the coast, she notices a half-submerged stone building connected to land by a tidal causeway. She asks about it at dinner, and everyone gets like really cagey and sweaty, letting them know that it's probably what they're looking for. Then she invades Tarquin's mind to confirm and basically to distract him from asking. It's the most she's gone into another person's mind to manipulate them.
Especially a High Lord.
Yeah.
That's a big deal.
Feyre, Rhys, and Amren meet up to plan. Rhys is going to fly and drop them at the island. Then hopefully the locks are going to open because they open for Tarquin, and Feyre's got his powers, so she can just be like, I'm totally the High Lord. Open for me.
Yeah.
Then Rhysand flies off. And that is the halfway point of this fucking book.
Is that actually halfway?
It
Yeah.
is
Oh, okay.
midway. End of chapter 35.
So we're not going to do any wrap up this time. Like, I didn't pick a character that I was like,
We can do that next time.
Next
yeah,
time.
we'll do that
Yeah.
next time. This is just, we're like an hour and a half in. It's a big ass book.
It is a big ass book.
Thoughts so far? Little repetitive.
It's a little repetitive. Like I said, the magicking a bed thing. Like he didn't need to do that. Just get in bed with her.
Yeah.
I kind of feel a little. I don't know. It just drags out more than it should.
Yeah.
I still like it way better than ACOTAR. I feel like it has more of a point.
Yeah, me too.
Like I do like the whole heist situation, trying to find these magical objects. I still think posting a letter to the queens is ridiculous and funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's a lot better than the first book. I still think it's overlong.
Yeah. That guy, Andrew, whatever his name is on TikTok, he like talks like a used cars salesman.
Yeah.
I love him though. But he basically brought up what I think. I mean, first off, I 5-starred this book. I loved it. But he brought up like the one kind of gripe I have with it, which is like, of course, none of this kind of like heisty stuff, like the plot of the book doesn't really fall into place nicely. But he's like, it's because it's a romance book first and a fantasy book second. So like it doesn't matter that all of the, you know, why are we getting this book? Oh, because some random bone guy told us. We were like kind of no reason. You know, why? Oh, this random lady who has like grease from a human and hair everywhere. Why are we here? Oh, because why not? You know, none of that stuff really needs to make sense because it's not fantasy first.
I do think that if it is a romance book first, she needs to hit those classic romance beats though.
Yeah.
I agree.
Sharing the bed,
Yeah.
the like kissing accidentally.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah, the whole like being so attracted that you accidentally kiss and then freaking out about it. We don't get that here. And I really wanted them to do that.
Yeah.
I wanted to see them accidentally kind of kiss because they couldn't help it and then be like,
Someone
oh my
accidentally
God.
walks in on someone naked.
Yeah.
Like those are the things I want.
Wait. But that does kind of happen because he has like a nightmare at one point.
Yeah.
Is it in this book?
Yeah,
It's later on though?
Yeah, it's in here.
And she goes and comforts him and he's like butt ass naked.
So
for
yeah,
some
the
reason.
romance in this book doesn't really get started until right around here.
Yeah.
Like we get the bulk of the romance like after she gives up on Tamlin totally.
Yeah.
And I get that there has to be a part of the book that is her giving up on Tamlin as a potential because she loves him. And it's
Yeah.
hard to get over that, especially the first love, the great love of your life, you thought. And
Yeah,
it's
but you
not
can
going to
be getting over that and super horny for the new guy.
You can.
Yeah.
It's
But
possible.
I think she didn't want
People
to
contain
land.
multitudes.
But then
Yeah.
there's also the PTSD bit. So now she's juggling too many balls.
Yes.
So-
And I think S.J. Maas probably wanted to avoid the kind of like emotionally cheating business that could have
I would've
happened.
been fine with that.
I know.
I would have been okay with it too, but I think lots of people
I
find
think
that to
lots of-
be
yes.
a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a turnoff.
Especially in the mates like trope, I think that happens all the time. The like emotionally cheating or like the accidental kiss because they couldn't help it. I think it would have been perfect here because again the mates thing. But I think
you
she
don't know that yet.
Oh, sorry. Whoops.
Hey, there's spoilers all over the place. This is what we do here. We spoil.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you for joining us for this first half of A Court of Mist and Fury. Please join us for the second half.
Yeah,
See
eventually.
what happens.
We'll
eventually.
get there. Yeah.
Bye.